Hello everyone, welcome to another important video. Today we deep down into major challenges that are faced by clinical trials across the world. These are the critical challenges which are at the fundamental levels for conducting clinical trial. Stay in the video till the end so that you can understand each and every challenges and how we can overcome to it. Without further ado, let's start. The first challenge we face is for site selection. Now, when it comes to site selection, it is one of the most significant and critical step when it comes to conducting clinical trial, as this step has an impact of determining the overall success of the clinical trial and how efficiently that particular trial is going to be performed. Now, when you select a site, the right site will make a lot of difference because it will help you to ensure that the trial is executed effectively. The data generated out of that site is accurate, reliable, and secure, and whether that site follows the local regulations and guidelines and whatever compliance that are you require in your clinical trial. Okay, so site selection is one of the key aspect, and whenever you select a particular site, so it will also ensure that all the timelines which are within the recruitment period to get enough number of period that are also met by the site. And we see that whenever it comes to clinical trials, if we select wrong site, then the recruitment is hampered, the data entry is hampered, the data collection is hampered, and at the end, if the site is not correct for your clinical trial, you won't get enough amount of data. You will be investing a lot of time, money, and your efforts in that particular site, and it will be wasted in the end. So it is very important that you select the correct site. The next important major challenge is patient pool. Now, patient pool is one of the most critical criteria because having a good patient pool will essentially ensure that whatever the recruitment target is, whatever the screening target is, and the inclusion exclusion criteria will be properly met, and the enrollment expectation that are set by the sponsor that a site can meet. If the site is very good in functioning wise, but they do not have enough patient pool, then you won't be doing a lot of activities at that particular site. Plus, a site with prior investigator and hospital database is one of the most critical factor because it will essentially give you which are the potential study participants that you can recruit. Plus, if the particular site also has some tie-ups with physician who can refer them to the clinical trial, then it is easier for you to maximize your screening and meet the recruitment goals. So a lot of site face challenges with patient pool. They have good infrastructure, even the good site staff. But when it comes to patient pool and meeting the recruitment target and maximizing the screening period, then that is a major challenge. So it is very important for you to understand that whenever you conduct a clinical trial, make sure your site has a good patient pool so that you can ensure randomization. Next aspect is the trained staff. Now, clinical trial is a complex endeavor and it involves educating the site staff which are involved in the conduct of the study, and the site staff should be able to handhold the participant and ensure that the study objective, procedure, risk, and benefits are properly implemented. If there is any kind of risk with the site staff, if they are not properly trained, it will lead to errors, it will lead to a lot of deviation, non-compliance, and adverse event. And this can not only hamper subject safety, but it can also lead to questioning the data generated by your site. So having a trained site staff, qualified site staff, is one of the very important criteria. And in extreme case scenario, if the site staff is not properly trained, if they are very naive, then site can miss the SAE critical safety event and even have issues with compliance. And this can definitely have a very big question mark on the data generated from that particular site. Okay, so even if you conduct a clinical trial, but if you have a lot of non-compliance deviations, then it will certainly lead the sponsor to exclude that particular data, which is not a desirable activity. Next thing is regulatory barriers. Now, regulatory barriers can also have a significant impact, or it can obstruct the timelines for conducting clinical trial, and especially that is happening in developing countries. Now, if you see what kind of barriers are involved, then when it comes to regulatory approval for the new clinical trial or any particular trial related activity, then there are complex and strict regulation. Okay, At times there are lengthy and replicative administrative process which even further down reduces your screening time period. It hampers the enrollment, and at some regulatory authority they have limited expertise or the capacity of local regulatory body, or even the review cycles are longer. It further delays the conduct of the clinical trial, and in some cases there are multiple layers of review and inconsistent finding which lead to a complete back and forth between the sponsors and the regulatory authority, and it unnecessarily increases time period. Now when it comes to safety, I can understand that regulatory is taking a concern, but when it comes to approving a trial which are globally approved in other countries, then the time period can be minimized, and these regulatory barriers have a significant impact when it comes to having or conducting clinical trial in developing countries. So regulatory barriers is another one of the fundamental challenges when it comes to conduct of the clinical trial. Now, next thing is ensuring diversity. Now, a lack of diversity in clinical trial, as we see, can lead to drugs and therapies that may not be effective or safe for all. Now, whenever you launch any medication in the market, then it can be used for any number of people, and that people are from diverse background. But if you perform your clinical trial on a select number of people with select ethnicity, race, gender, then effectiveness is not properly tested, and it could lead to treatment being ineffective against various populations. And since the diversity is not properly tested in genetic, social, and cultural differences, it can also have an impact when it comes to scientific working of the drug, like metabolism and how the efficacy of the drug is seen in various population. So ensuring diversity is one of the key significant challenges, and it is very important for you to include people of various race, caste, gender, okay, various demographics, and the minority population also needs to be included, because when it comes to diseases, when it comes to health related outcomes, then the medication is used by each and every person of any country. So it is very important to ensure the diversity. So again, ensuring diversity is one of the major significant challenges in clinical trial. Next thing, which is again something which I don't like, is high participation of selective population. If you have conducted clinical trial, now for example, I have more than 7 years of clinical research experience, and I've seen that when it comes to participation in clinical trial, we see participation from poor individuals or financially unstable individual, which you can make out that they're doing this particular clinical trial for financial motives, which is also not a correct practice. Again, we see a particular religious or ethnic groups participating more in clinical trial due to the healthcare benefits, due to access to healthcare. So again, we are taking advantage of this vulnerable population. So it is very important for the regulatory as well as the CROs or the pharma companies to have a defined parameter to include diverse population, which cuts across all the vulnerable groups and ensures that there is equal amount of representation from each particular group, and we can have a stratification involved in the protocol itself, so that the regulatory authority can have an all inclusive study population. And this approach is very much critical, because currently the approach we have is enrollment focused, where we just focus on enrollment. We do not care about what type of population is being enrolled. So instead of having an enrollment focused approach to the clinical trial, we can have a diversity focused approach with inclusion of other parameters, which can ensure that we do not prey upon the weaker section of the society, and whatever the medication is being tested, it is representing the all population, and we can get the adverse event, the serious adverse event, and the efficacy data that is correct, which can apply to all the population. Last but not the least, patient retention is one of the most significant criteria in clinical trials, and patient retention has a lot of challenges, which include having a stringent or inconvenient study visit where the timeline or the duration is very short. The length of the study, sometimes retaining subject for 2 years, 3 years, is one of the significant challenges. Even the targets which are set are unrealistic, and having patient compliance at each and every visit, it is practically difficult. Again, sometimes we have a comparator study where we compare against placebo. Now if a subject, for example, is in weight management study and his weight is not reducing, he's getting the placebo. So having retaining those subject in the clinical trial is very difficult, and it is very important for you to have an effective motivation strategy. And currently, the strategy we have refrain from us to have any incentive or give any financial motivation, and that is correct at the fundamental level. But it is also very important to have some strategy for patient retention. And other aspect is long term access to medication. So it is important so that we ensure that even that after the trial is completed, we have continued access for the subjects, and they can have access to the medication and treatment even after the trial is conducted. Thank you for watching this video. I hope I have shed a light on 7 major challenges in clinical trial, and you can make through these challenges and ensure that we can have significant effort being made to include all the study population and overcome the obstacle in clinical trial. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel so that we can bring you amazing video. And thank you for watching this video.